Welcome back to the channel. This is Simon Cromer, and today we're going to be sanding, buffing, and polishing all in one video on this Grady White dual console. Guys, if you want to learn a lot about detailing today, be sure to stick around to this video. Let's dive in right now. Welcome back. I am so glad to be here to share this video with you guys today. And before we even get started, I'm going to be sharing the 3 reasons why you would wet sand your boat. This video has been on my mind for months, and I'm finally bringing this video to you guys today. Had the perfect opportunity to make this. So guys, let's get into the 3 reasons right now. I will throw them all up on the screen, and then we will cover each of them individually. Number 1, fix the core of the issue. Number 2, saves time and energy. And number 3, maximum longevity of coatings. Reason number 1 is fix the core of the issue. So sanding gives you this ability, whereas buffing does not always give you this ability. So if you have oxidation, you should be sanding your boat, whether that's 1,000, 2,000, 500, whatever it is. Sanding is the most effective way to fix the core of the issue. It's the most effective way to remove oxidation because you're stripping the oxidation straight off the boat. Whereas buffing, you're just moving the oxidation around and you're putting oils onto the boat, making it look shiny. Unless you have a newer boat that has been taken care of properly, you will not be able to get away with just buffing. Let's compare this to a real life example. So let's say that you love Reese cups, right? You love Reese cups, you eat them every single day, even though you know that you probably shouldn't. You go to the doctor because you feel strange, you just, your energy, your health, it just feels a little off. And your doctor says, hey, you have high blood pressure. So what's the doctor gonna do? The doctor's gonna give you some pills that are gonna help alleviate the issue. So you go home, you debate, you're like, hey, should I stop eating Reese cups? And you're like, no, I love Reese cups. These pills are gonna help me. So you keep eating Reese cups, you're taking the pills, right? Well, all these pills are gonna do is they're gonna alleviate the symptoms of you continuing to eat Reese cups. And that is exactly what happens when you decide to buff a boat that has oxidation and needs to be sanded. So the question here is, okay, yeah, I can buff my boat and I can alleviate the symptoms of the boat, of the oxidation, but what's the boat gonna look like a week from now? What's the boat gonna look like a month, 2 months from now? Are these coatings actually gonna last? The answer to that is no. Reason number 2 is saves time and energy. So typically a 35 foot boat can usually be sanded in about a day. So 1 day to sand a boat, or if it's a little bit bigger, probably 2. But still, it does save you a lot of time and energy because it saves you, 3-4 rounds of buffing, which certainly is hard and taxing on the body and just a lot of wasted product. So it does save a lot of time to sand, especially on these boats that need it. I just ran into a detailer the other day at Marine Detail Supply, and he had just buffed a black hull 3 times, and you could clearly see that there was still a ton of oxidation in the boat. So we helped him out, got him the right sanding discs, and hopefully he can go get that fixed, and hopefully he can get his time back. So it just makes it a lot easier to go ahead and sand your boat prior to wasting a lot of time and a lot of energy on trying to buff a boat that isn't in the right condition in the first place. Reason number 3 is maximum longevity of coatings. And this kind of ties back into number 1 of fix the core of the issue. And this all starts with sanding and making sure that you're removing all the oxidation, because buffing was never created to remove oxidation. It's created to shine up the surface, restore oils back into the gel coat. That is what buffing is for, and it's also designed to take out scratches. The most effective way to remove oxidation is through sanding. So if you're waxing your boat and you're not getting about 3 months, if you're putting a polymer on your boat and you're not getting 6 months, if you're putting a ceramic coating on your boat and you're not getting 1 to 2 years, you need to reconsider what you're doing to your boat. And if you're a boat detailer, boat owner, step back, reflect, see what you're doing wrong. I can tell you from experience that your coatings will 100% last longer if you sand prior to buffing, polishing, and coating. Now that we know why you would sand a boat, we need to talk about the 4 steps that suggest sanding is necessary for your boat, because we know that sanding is not required for every single boat we work on, but there is a good chance that at least half, if you're a boat detailer or if you're a boat owner, most of these boats do need some sort of sanding, whether that's a light sanding or a full sanding. We need to know what steps we need to take to determine this. So these are going to be 4 steps I'm going to throw up on the screen that are going to help you know whether you should sand your boat. So step number 1 is you need to wash the boat down, because if you don't wash the boat, then you're not going to know what the condition looks like after it's clean. So a lot of the times you'll go ahead and you'll look at a boat and you'll say, wow, like this boat has a lot of oxidation. It turns out though that it's just dirt sitting on the gel coat. So usually you can wash a lot of that off. This will give you the first indicator of whether or not you think you need to sand your boat. Indicator 2 is rub your hand across the surface of the gel coat. If you rub your hand across the surface of the gel coat and there's this white, chalky, powdery like substance that comes off onto your hand, that is oxidation, and that is an indicator that you'll need to sand your boat, because if your boat was not oxidized, it would be smooth and it would be clean and you'd have nothing coming off onto your hand. Let's retrace some footage here. Now watch closely. Indicator number 3 is put a flashlight from your phone onto the gel coat. So as I move my phone across, you're gonna notice that that light is bright in some spots, but it's dull in other spots. If I can't see that light from my phone clearly, there's oxidation in your boat, and that is gonna get removed through the sanding process. So that is an amazing indicator of oxidation and the level of oxidation, because as you do more boats and become more prone to doing this process, you will be able to see that some boats you will not see anything from your flashlight on your phone. Other boats you're going to see some. Other boats will be cloudy. Like this boat was cloudy in spots. We're going to be doing a ceramic coating, so we definitely want to make sure that oxidation's off. And I didn't mention, but we're just doing a 1000 and 2000, a simple sanding to this boat. Not going to hurt the boat in any way, but it's going to be sure that we get all the oxidation off, and it's going to allow for maximum adhesion with the ceramic coating. Indicator number 4, which is optional, but if you're a detailer, I would recommend. This is a a gloss meter reading, and this is gonna read the level of gloss on your boat. So if you have a score of 50 or lower, that lets you know that you need to sand your boat. That's my standard, so just a little tip for you guys. You can do little test spots around the boat, see what readings you're getting, and if it's below a 50, then you need to sand your boat. At this point in the video, I think it's safe to say that we can cover the sanding process. So we're going to talk about tips, tricks, some of my experience of how you should sand your boat, the most effective ways, the least effective ways. It's all going to be coming to you guys, so let's get started. So first things first is let's talk about pads. So what pads am I using? So these are Mirka Abralon, so it's a soft mesh sanding disc, and it has some give, it has some take, it's not super hard. All you have to do is get a backing plate. So you can see that I have this foam backing plate. Now I forget exactly what it's called, but I will figure that out for you guys and throw that on the screen. You'll want to get this little foam pad to put behind your Abralon discs. This is going to allow for more cushion. It's going to allow so that you're not making hard scratches and hard swirls and hard pigtails into the fiberglass. So this is a very important step. So make sure you buy these backing plates. Don't just throw this pad on your polisher and start going at it. Just make sure that you purchase this foam pad that goes underneath. This is going to allow for maximum cushion and allow for a cleaner and fresher and just a better surface to work with when it comes to buffing. So that's the first thing. And like I said, we are doing a 1000 and a 2000. So it's a 2-step process. We took out our phone flashlight. We ran our phone flashlight across the gel coat, and that's what determined our sanding. We didn't think it would be effective to just simply buff this. So that's what decided us to go ahead and do the sanding process. So once you have that figured out, you'll notice that there's 2 different lines, right? Mirka makes an Abralon sanding line, and they make a Mirka Abranet. Now, we're not going to talk about Abranet in this video because that is for extreme sanding purposes when you have extreme oxidation and you need to take out a lot of oxidation. And I think for the majority of boat owners, the majority of boat detailers aren't going to come across that situation that often, because it's not often that I even come across that situation where we have to go down to a Merca. Normally, Aprilon 500, Aprilon 1000, 2000, and 3000 are the four main pads that I will use. Now you can determine the finish as you desire. So if you have a darker color, you can sand down to a 3000, but on a white colored boat like this, it's not necessary. So that's what leads us to the 1000 and the 2000 process. Now let's go ahead and talk about machines. So what I have here is a random orbital. It's a Rupes LHR 15. Now, if you guys have been watching a lot of my YouTube videos, you'll notice that I pretty much use this machine it's very versatile, and I use it in a lot of different situations. I use it to sand, I use it to work on outboards, I use it to micro polish. It's just a great machine that is backed by an amazing reputation and just an amazing machine overall. Like I said, high quality, very durable. Now, it is expensive, so if you don't want to sand with this machine, I completely understand. Get yourself a cheaper DA or a cheaper random orbital, which essentially is almost the same machine. Now, something to consider is buying a machine that has a lot of control. So that's why I do like the Rupes LHR 15, because it has a lot of control, great durability. If you're to buy a cheaper machine that's all over the place, the patterns, the random orbitals are just non-consistent, and the machine's all over the place. It's really messy and it's really bouncy, and it's just a hard running machine. You're gonna create a lot more pigtails. So I do think the machine's important. I think the pattern's important. I don't really think that you want a long throw. I think you should stick with more of an orbital, whether that would be the Rupes orbital or a Griot's Garage orbital. And I don't want to speculate because I haven't used this, but I would imagine that the Merca sander would work as well, or even a DeWalt random orbital sander. So those would be my favorite options. When it comes to water and making sure that you wet down the area, my recommendation is that you keep a hose by you at all times. Now, some people will do different strategies. Some people will have a water bottle with some soap in it, and they'll spray that on the surface and kind of go at it, and then they might spray it off afterwards, or maybe they won't even spray it off afterwards. I think it's very important to keep your surface clean at all times. So I do a rinse before I sand, and then I do a rinse after I sand. The hose is by me at all times. So I do think that's important, and I think that's the most effective way, because you want to see your results, right? You want to see what you're doing, and if you can't see what you're doing, no bueno, no good. So also, I think it's important not to dry sand. I think dry sanding is very difficult. It's ineffective. It's very challenging because your pad clogs up very fast. And especially for boats and for what we're trying to do, I just don't think this is optimal for the results you're trying to get. Now, I'm sure you can wet sand in situations, but in my opinion, I find that to be a disaster. So just a little bit of advice from what I've experienced and what I've tried to do in the past. So if you have water with you and you have a hose and you have access, always go with that option. Now, another question that people commonly ask is like, how many passes can I get out of a single pad? So you get 10, or typically you get 10 pads in a box. So you want to use them effectively, and they are expensive. So you don't want to run through 50, 60, 70 pads if it's not necessary. But from what I've learned is you're only going to get so much out of these pads. So if you take it into terms of buffing, right, you're going to do a 2 foot by 2 foot section. Well, for sanding, you can get about 3 sections of a 2 by 2 foot. So if that makes sense, 3 passes, 3 sections, 3 separate sections of 2 feet by 2 feet. So to kind of put this into perspective, this is I believe it's a 23 foot gritty white. So I'm gonna use, I think I used 4 or 5 pads on this side of the hull. So, you know, that's kind of puts you in this perspective how much I was able to get out of this. So I think I used about 4 pads, but you can always check your pad, always feel your pad. You know, somehow you can either, you know, I have gloves on, so I can't really feel what the grit looks like, but rub it across your arm or something and just kind of see how much grit's left. But you'll notice after 2 passes especially after 3, that grit's pretty much almost gone and it's just becoming ineffective after that point. So I know that's a common question that I get a lot, so I just wanted to make that clear that you can get about 2 to 3 sections. Now, in terms of the patterns, it's very similar to buffing. So you literally go horizontal and vertical, and you do as many passes as you need to get out the oxidation, right? So for sanding, what's a little bit different than buffing is the first pass of sanding is when you have to do most of the work. So you want to make sure you get out most of that oxidation, if not pretty much all of it in that first pass, because you need to set yourself up good for the next round, because as you get lower in grit, as you get higher in grit, the oxidation removal becomes less effective. And at this point in the process, you want to be removing scratches from the previous step, and you don't want to be still dealing with oxidation. To jump along to another topic is, can we sand over decals and lettering? So see this grady white lettering? No, I would not recommend that you sand over top of that, because you're gonna break down the top layer, which gives it the name and gives it the coating that keeps that protected. But can you sand over decals? Yes, of course. If you're doing any Abralon 500, 1000, 2000, of course you can sand right over the decals and it's not going to be a problem. Never had an issue in the past. Now, once you get into Mirka, Abranet, the more aggressive pads that cut really hard, that is where you got to be careful. So just my recommendation, do what you think is best, and you can definitely sand, especially 1000, 2000, 3000. Easily you can sand over the decals, no issues. I believe I've covered everything that's important and crucial to getting started in the sanding process, whether you're a boat owner or a boat detailer. Now, if I did miss something, always drop that question in the comments, because I will always respond. So drop those in the comments, but I'm going to do a quick rundown one more time of this process before we jump into buffing and polishing. So again, we're going to sand with 1000 Abralon, 2000 Abralon. It's a 2-step process. We do the 1000 first, come back over, do the 2000 after that. It is Abralon, which is a soft mesh disc. So make sure that you purchase the foam backing plate that goes on top of your polisher, and then you put that Abralon pad on top of that. So that is important to make sure you're eliminating pigtails and making it a smooth, easy surface for your polisher to run through. And it just helps you eliminate a lot of the extra scratching that you don't need in your boat. So after that, polishers, we talked about, get yourself a random orbital, or even in speculation, I think you could get yourself a Mirka or a DeWalt orbital sander. And I think those would be good options as well. Stick away from the rotary, stick away from the flex, stick away from the long throw polishers. I don't think these are the most effective for sanding your boat. So you will have to have a different machine. If you're one of those people that only likes to own a rotary, you will have to get a different machine for this specific process. Now, like I said, you can always get your flashlight out, run that flashlight over your boat. You can always notice if you're going to need sanding based on how that light looks in the reflection. If you cannot see a reflection, you're going to need to sand your boat. Also, we talked about always have water with you. If you have access to a hose and water, keep that hose next to you. Use that hose throughout the entire boat, the entire process. Keep that surface clean so that you can see your results. And I think that's everything, guys. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into the buffing. We will talk about buffing briefly, but guys, I have 2 incredible videos about buffing on my YouTube channel, so be sure to check both of those videos out, where I will cover a ton of great value and tips for buffing your boat to perfection. So I don't really want to cover a ton of that in this video, because those 2 videos are available for you guys to watch, but I just wanted you guys to see the difference that sanding and then buffing makes, because it is night and day difference. If we were to just simply buff this, you would not have the shine that we're getting right here in this current footage, because when you have oxidation, guys, and you buff over top of it, depending on how much oxidation you have, you're moving the oxidation around and you're putting a lot of swirls, you're putting a lot of just oils on the boat, and you're not actually removing all the oxidation that you think you're removing. So when you sand it, you are for sure eliminating all the oxidation. So we're working with a surface right now that is completely free of oxidation, and all we're doing is polishing it up. This is exactly what compound was made for. It's made to polish up your boat, restore oils, and take out scratches. And this exactly is perfect, because what do we do when we sanded? Well, we put scratches in the boat. Now we're polishing those scratches out, finishing it down, and this is where Stark Level R comes in amazingly. I don't think Stark Level R is the best compound out there, but after sanding, if you sand it down correctly, this is one of your best friends when it comes to using compounds, is Stark Level R. So I just wanted you guys to see. I wanted to get some footage. I wanted to throw that camera right on my head and show you guys exactly what this surface is looking like. Now I'm gonna go here and kind of buff between these letters, do the best I can, doing it safely and effectively, keeping this at a slow pace. But yeah, guys, I just wanted you to see the shine that this leaves. It guarantees for a maximum finish. Like, it just guarantees that you have done everything in your power to get this boat back. And you know that when you put that coating on there, because we're going to be doing a ceramic coating, you can just know that you can guarantee that this is going to last as long as they recommend, because otherwise it's a throw up. It really is. It's a throw up in the air of how long is the coating going to last, when's it going to come off. And people will argue with you, do you need to wet sand your boat? You know, no, you don't need to wet sand your boat. People will continue to argue this, and I just wonder, if are they not willing to put in the work? Do they not want to spend the money? Do they not want to spend the time? For me, it's the results. Results speak. I want to be the person that does it right. I want to be the person that comes out and, takes care of your boat like it should be. I don't want any speculation. I don't want to know if the coating's gonna last. I want to know that when I'm done with the job, that I did the best I could, and that's what makes me happy. That's what makes me sleep at night, is knowing that I came out and I did what was necessary for the boat. So just a little talk about this. Don't want to cover buffing a whole lot. Buffing is very similar to how we sanded. Vertical, horizontal patterns. You buff the compound until it is completely off the boat. Whether that takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you buff it all the way off. You cannot leave compound on your boat that's half buffed into the surface. You have to buff all the way off every time. That's what will leave you this mirror-like finish. So after we finish this, we are gonna go into polishing. So let's go. Just a few suggestions on polishing. Not going to cover a whole lot here in this video, but yeah, so you do the sanding process, you do the buffing, and then you have to follow up with a polish. So anytime that I sand a boat, I like to go with the polisher with the gray Lake Country Force pad. So I find this pad best for taking out scratches. So some people might say, like, why do you use the flex all the time? Like, is it necessary? And a lot of detailers actually will not use the flex, but I do like the flex on any boats that we're sanding down, because after that buffing, the buffing is going to take out most of the scratches, but it's not going to take out all of them. And usually this gray pad will take out 85-90% of them. That's going to set you up for a good surface for you to put any coating on that boat. So we don't want to be comprising our coatings because of scratches. So we want to make sure that we get out most of them, but 5-10% scratches is okay. And the flex is going to do that in a one step. So that's why we're going with the flex instead of doing 2 separate steps. This is like that pack a punch, 1 step polish. It's for any detailer, any boat owner that's looking for, a really good finish with 1 step. This is your go-to right here. So they call it the Flex 3401G, the Beast, for a reason. This thing cuts. You can throw a heavy-duty pad on there, just like this Gray Lake Country Force pad, and it's going to get to work. So I believe we're using Elevate in this video, and just like polishing, or my bad, just like buffing, horizontal, vertical movements, up and down, work 3-4 passes, take it off, wipe it off. I like to give a good amount of pressure. I like to apply a good amount of force when I use this machine, and really kind of lay into it and cut out as many scratches as I can. So this removal of the scratches is gonna bring even a more deeper gloss, because the two things that take away gloss are oxidation and scratches. So we really take out these scratches, you're gonna see that gloss really pop out again, and that's all there is to it. I'm going to be ending the video here. If you got a lot of value out of this video, hit the like button, hit share it to other people. The only way we're gonna grow this channel is by sharing it and reaching more people. Guys, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button now, and I will see you on the next video. Peace out.